Welcome in to Rover Sports. We are here, and it is Tuesday. We made it to the second day of the week. It is the dog days of wintertime in February here today, and we got Big Al Zafiri, Charlie Bowles, and Bruce the Sports Doc in studio. And Bruce, I'll open it up to you. We got NFL Combine Week, NBA basketball, the fight. How excited are you first? I know we're going to talk Sixers, but what are you looking to see from this NFL Combine first? Are you excited to see some of the wide receivers? When you think of the NFL Combine, does anything excite you about the Combine?
Simply speaking, it excites me much less than it excites you. I will see guys running around in shorts, doing bench pressing and doing different things. A lot of times I'm trying to familiarize myself with the names of the players, as I'm more focused on pro football than college. Obviously, we know teams like LSU and Clemson. I'm familiar with those people. But some of these smaller school guys, you just want to familiarize yourself with the names. It also seems that some of the teams have de-emphasized the Combine. Denver and I believe San Francisco are not sending all their guys. So they're saying they could actually prepare better, particularly with new coaching staffs, by not going to the Combine. So that's kind of a negative for the Combine itself. Charlie Bowles, what do you think about the Combine?
I am excited, and I'll tell you why I'm excited. I'm excited to see who's going to fall in love with a workout warrior and make a mistake this year. I think the Combine has turned into a show, a fiasco almost. I think that people fall in love with guys, like you said, running in shorts or bench pressing. Go to the tape. You want to see if a guy can play football, go to the tape. The big thing in the last 24 hours, Joe Burrow has 9-inch. He'll be the shortest fingers in the last 10 years to be drafted in the first round with 9-inch hands. Go to the tape. That if you want to see a guy can play football, watch him play football. Don't watch him run around in shorts with other guys. There's other places for that. I just think that you may get, always get one maybe decent story every year, but also I think you get more failures than successes. People fall in love with these, a high jump or a bench press. It doesn't translate to the field, i.e. Mike Mamula, for example.
He's the classic one. Spencer, I know you do enjoy the compound,
well,
so you're in the minority here.
Well, I enjoy the I enjoy, and Al, maybe you can boost up my volume on the microphone. So something that I enjoy about the Combine is familiarizing myself with the names of like the linemen, the linebackers. Last year we saw Devin White have a really good Combine. Most of the time these guys are going to have good Combines. If you're a cornerback and you do run a slow 40, it means that you're never going to be a great corner because maybe you're going to get beat. You look at Xavier Rhodes, he's a very physical corner, but this year he's slow, so you could scout for that. When teams are scouting, they'll say this guy runs a 4.5 40. You look at Jalen Mills. That's why he went in the 7th round. And teams can take advantage of that. But also, I love the interviews. There's so many rumors that come out of the Combine. Today, Joe Burrow said he's playing in Cincinnati. You look at Tua Tagovailoa, say his favorite team is the Cowboys. Now, that might not mean anything, but if I were a Cowboy fan, I definitely would take Tua over Dak Prescott, and you're paying Tua very cheap. So I just love the rumor season. And also, I think it is a great opportunity for kids to rise. And a real riser, I think, Charlie, is going to be Jacob Eason out of Washington. I think that he can really throw the ball in this setting in this Combine. I think that Eason will rise, and I just love the rumor circuit of the NFL Combine. I also think Herbert's going to be pretty good, too, in the pros.
The thing about Eason that is the obvious concern is he couldn't beat out Jake Fromm. How's he going to do in the NFL? That would be – again, it could have been politics. You don't know what the real story is.
It's because also Fromm took better care of the ball than Eason. Eason has a higher ceiling, but he does turn it over.
Do you think also with Eason there were some elements of immaturity, and he just wasn't as mature as Fromm? So I'm not saying he's terrible, but I think he was more immature, and Fromm's been there a really long time, and they kind of fell in love with him. But I know people like Uncle Lou, who's a big Georgia guy. He's has been down on Fromm because he thinks he's a real underperformer and a real choker. Now, if you're choking in college, that doesn't portend well for the NFL when everybody's moving faster.
I think that Fromm actually got the most out of his abilities with Kirby Smart. and kind of not the biggest armed guy. Was accurate. I think his intangibles were great, though. Great leader. He had Sony Michel, and he had Sony and Nick Chubb on one team. That Georgia team really could have won a national championship if not for Tua. They were one play away from winning. Now you're seeing Kirby Smart. He goes out. He signs an offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. And then, who is it, Sean Cochran from Alabama? Now Kirby Smart's taking Nick Saban's staff? What's up with Kirby Smart doing that? Who does Kirby think he is doing that? It's pretty unbelievable, isn't it, Charlie? For a guy who worked under Saban so long to be poaching Saban's staff.
But if you look at the quality of people Saban has brought in this year, again, not just re-signing Sarkisian or Sarkisian deciding to stay, he's brought in a couple other big household names as well. But the one thing that I would say is the theme of this year's draft is buyer beware. If Tua was healthy, I think he's a mini Drew Brees. But after Tua, they have people like Jordan Love going in the top 15. What year would you see that? I think this is a year I'd be very leery to take a quarterback after the top two. I would.
What about Herbert?
Big arm, but again, accuracy is a problem, and also in college he proved. Interceptions were a problem. Accuracy was a problem. Big arm, but in the NFL, remember, those windows are that much smaller.
He's smart, and he does have a quick release. And this is a guy who's played 4 years. He's very experienced.
But the windows in the NFL, he had a problem with accuracy before. Now you're going to talk about putting it in a hula hoop to a thimble. And you're going to have someone who surprises, obviously, but I'm telling you what.
I like this quarterback class.
After the top two, I wouldn't draft any of them in the first round.
By the way, you can nitpick every single quarterback class. I think this is a dang good one because then you have Love. I think you have Love and Eason. I think one of them has a chance to be very good.
I don't think either will be starters in the NFL.
Really? I'll bet you. I disagree. I'll bet you on that. I think Eason will definitely start. The talent is just ridiculous. You look at Matt Stafford. He reminds me of Stafford. He really does. Go ahead.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
When Mahomes played in college, he was a gunslinger. Mm-hmm. He probably threw. He probably threw interceptions because he was just wild and he was learning his craft. And now he's amazing at not throwing interceptions. Am I correct with that or incorrect?
Well, I think that he still throws picks, but Reed is just kind of able to.
Well, rarely. He threw 2 in the Super Bowl,
that's
which is very unusual.
It's him learning in Kansas City, but in the Big 12, he wasn't an interception machine at all. Texas Tech had the worst defenses. He still was a very good quarterback, but he played in the Big 12, so it was just.
So the defense is soft. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions.
He could put up 40 points, put up 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. His team is losing every single time. Also, if your defense gets blasted and lets up touchdowns, you increase possession. So you increase. He was throwing the ball like 60 times. You're gonna throw interceptions. And when you're a raw quarterback playing baseball, Davis Webb got hurt in front of him, so he was thrusted into the lineup really early, and he was raw. He was a baseball player. So Reed pretty much took him, and I think Reed's a better coordinator than Kingsbury. That's not really an offense to Kingsbury. Reed is probably a Hall of Fame coach.
So you really can't compare, obviously. Mahomes is a unique guy.
It was at Texas Tech, though, and the defense was just awful. So that's why the interceptions were inflated.
You look at Washington, too. But Washington, you look at the league, you look at the competition, and it's hard to judge Herbert compared to guys in the SEC like Tua, who is just incredible college career. He just had this hip injury, and a lot will be, he will come back from it, but I don't think he will. He said he's coming back in training, March? Was it April or March? Tua's coming back, but what does coming back really mean?
He might actually still throw, Charlie.
He might throw, but this is a bad injury and a bad operation. When I say bad, it takes a while to recover from it, particularly when you're a quarterback and your base is your hip, just the same way Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas had an impingement, and I hope that isn't the case with Tua. Isaiah Thomas never recovered from that.
Aside from that, he's already had surgery on both ankles too. I mean, this guy's been beat up in his college career. He's had a couple major injuries.
Well, I look at speaking of risk. I mean, if we were sitting in studio 365 days ago, Joe Burrow would be the 400th pick. He would be undrafted. And Justin Herbert, if he went in last year's draft, would be a top 10 pick. I want somebody who's been good for 4 years, not a one-hit wonder. That's why I'm worried about Joe Burrow. Because what happens if Joe Brady is just a freaking genius? What happens if LSU goes back to 8-4 LSU, which is what I predict, by the way? You know who LSU hired now to replace Joe Brady? Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator of the most boring offense, the Dallas Cowboys. That's the quote-unquote genius they replaced the boy genius Joe Brady with. So Joe Burrow had the most incredible year ever, but it was for 1 year. We will see if he's like a Cam Newton, if he still has a solid career, which is kind of what Cam had. Cam won the MVP, and then Cam's been just all right. But anyway, I want to switch gears here, talk about the big news here in Philly. That's Ben Simmons. And this Sixers medical staff, whether it was with Andrew Bynum, where else could we talk about the medical staff, Charlie and Bruce? I know that there's examples, Charlie, of them duping us with medical staff stuff here in Philly with the Sixers doctors.
Well, I think in this case, the fact that Simmons looks so healthy on All-Star Sunday, I don't know. I don't think this is something that's been festering for a long time. I think this is something that just happened, and I think it's really unfortunate.
Do you think it happened during a game? Can you point to?
Well, let me, if I can, this is in my wheelhouse. What they let out was that there's an impingement. So the thing about it is, if you do MRIs of people, even guys, young people, he might have a little disc bulge, tiny little disc bulge, and he might have a little irritation, but just like you, Charlie, I'm a little cynical. Yeah. I didn't really see an injury. In fact, when he ran off the court, he ran pretty full speed. He wasn't limping at all. So my concern is that they don't overreact to an MRI. You got to treat patients, not MRIs. And typically, they didn't even tell us what the MRI showed, but we'll presume that there's a little impingement between some kind of a disc and some kind of nerve. How do you treat that? Well, you treat it with physical therapy. Typically, you treat it with epidural injections, where that's something I do in the office, where you take a needle, you put the tip in the epidural space, and you calm things down. So with a guy like him, maybe 1 or 2 epidural injections, some PT, some medicines, and in 2 to 4 weeks, he might be good to go. Beyond that, it doesn't seem like there's any weakness there, any deficits. Without an examination, it's hard to say, but I sure did not see a discrete injury. I didn't see him even limping, but I don't doubt that he has some kind of disc problem and some kind of nerve irritation.
The talk around the NBA is that he, again, depending on who you believe, the talk around the NBA is that he may, the 4 weeks may be an understatement how long he may really be out. That behind the scenes, nobody really expects him to be back in 4 weeks. Who knows? Again, this is something I don't think anyone saw coming. I don't think anyone's still really aware of what happened yet. It happens. It had to happen off the court. That's for sure. Was he skiing? Was it over?
I don't think anybody really knows.
Hey, Charlie, this is what I really want to know.
Break, wasn't it?
Why was Ben Simmons? First of all, there are practices. Why was he even in that Milwaukee game? Why would the medical staff clear Ben Simmons to play in the Milwaukee game if he had this?
It's not always it's not them sitting there feeling his pain. I mean, he's the one who's got. Here's the thing: is a lot of times you got guys who want to play. Ben Simmons is, people can complain about him all he wants, but the man has never shown any ounce of not wanting to play.
But he didn't play against Brooklyn. Okay, he was out for that game, so the medical
staff. But he could have strained his back.
All right, let me ask you a question.
I think they figured it was a back strain.
If you're a competitor,
that's very common.
If you're a competitor and you're trying to, you might have a little something going on. Do you care about Brooklyn or do you care about the Bucks, who literally is the best team in the NBA?
No. He went to the medical staff and he probably showed them what's going on with his back. They needed to test Ben. That's the job of the doctor. The job of the doc is to test Ben Simmons. We're going to keep talking. Yes, welcome into Rover Sports. We now have a caller on the line.
Hey guys, great show.
Thanks. Who's calling into the show today?
Believe it or not, Rover, this is Cox, and I just want to propose a trade, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I just want all you three guys to let me know if you think there's any validity that it would work out with both teams. Okay, so here's my it's San Diego and Dallas. basically San Diego's the Chargers are moving to a new stadium. They need a quarterback now. Now you see the comment that I gave you, Rover. It's basically, would you do this? Would you trade Dak to San Diego? San Diego gets their quarterback right now in a new stadium to sell tickets. They're also a win now team. Okay. In return, Dallas and Jerry Jones, who's 78 years old, gets the 6th pick. Dallas then signs Brady. They got their quarterback for the next 1 or 2 years. They take the 6 and 17 pick, because they're picking 17, trade up for 3, which the Lions are willing to trade, and then get their quarterback of the future on a rookie deal and get Tua, who gets to learn from the greatest quarterback ever. And the way it benefits Dallas is not only will Dallas become America's team again, Dallas also can win right now while having the quarterback of the future in the future, on their team right now. And you made a very good point about injuries. I understand the guy looks like Frankenstein. He's been cut up so much.
Right.
But hopefully he could stay. So hopefully he can stay healthy. But to me, It benefits San Diego. It benefits Dallas. Jerry Jones is 78. I mean, Dallas would be the most watched team in the NFL. So I'd just like to know, like I said, it probably won't happen. It most likely won't happen. But is there validity to both teams at least entertaining that type of trade?
Your thoughts, Spence?
I think that clocks, and thank you for calling. It's tough to sometimes read the comments when we're doing the show, but thank you for the call. It's a very interesting proposal, clocks. I think for the Chargers, they would be giving up their Dallas would be moving into 6, and you're giving them Dak Prescott for the 6th pick. Is that a set? I don't think the Chargers would do that trade. I think that would actually be an awful trade for the Chargers in this case, because I just don't think Dak is enough leverage to move up to 6. Maybe if you add in Van Der Esch or you add in Amari Cooper. But clocks, I don't know if you're a Cowboys fan. It's cool if you are. I think
absolutely not.
Oh, I think that you might be a Giants fan. I think if the Cowboys,
a Giants fan, but that's how I got hooked onto you.
I just try to keep it real. I try to be objective on this show, and I think that Tua for the Cowboys is absolutely great for the Dallas Cowboys. But for the Chargers should draft Herbert. I think it's perfect. The Chargers shouldn't screw around there, and I don't think Dak is enough. It's going to have to be a big haul. And I don't know if I don't know if Brady would go there.
We give him that one other guy, the Van Der Esch, or whoever you think might be able to make that trade. What I'm trying to say is Jerry Jones had to be talked out of making the Manziel draft.
Right.
He basically, if you all remember, he wanted to get Manziel. This guy's 78 years old and hasn't won in forever. And I'm just saying that I think he would love to have Brady there now. I think that whatever you need to get the 6th pick, you get that. You combine it with the 17 and you trade up. You solve this, whatever Dak wants to get, $40 million a year, which I don't think he's worth any part of that. I think he underperformed in a team that has a tremendous offensive line and tremendous skill position players. So I'm not a Dak believer at all. And I know that he's got his stats are good. I'm just not a believer for $40 million. But to me, I just think that this makes sense for both teams. Plus, doesn't San Diego's, they're getting the defensive back, I forgot his name back, the really good guy,
James.
He's coming back. Don't they want to?
Derwin
don't
James.
they want to win now?
San
Go
Diego?
ahead. Go ahead. Al.
I mean,
go ahead with your thoughts.
I don't think getting Dak Prescott helps San Diego, and you kind of talked yourself out of it by your last statement there. He was on a team with a stellar amount of talent, and he underperformed. So if I'm looking we keep saying San Diego, but LA. If I'm the Chargers and I'm sitting there looking at it, what part of LA's team makes me feel like adding Dak Prescott that much of an upgrade and improvement?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how San Diego feels about him. I mean, I would love you guys to tell me. I mean,
well,
is he high on their radar?
I would imagine San Diego has probably a lot of what we're saying right here on their mind is Dak Prescott isn't doing things where he's making a moderate team a better team. If you're putting him on a stellar team and he's only playing moderately, that's backwards in my world. So a 6th pick and here here's one thing is people were really upset when everybody was high on Chip Kelly here in Philly, and they wanted Chip Kelly, and then Chip Kelly wanted Mariota, and Mariota was about to sell the farm Chip Kelly was about to sell the farm to get Mariota, And here comes Andy Reid stepping in, telling the guy, "Hey, listen, you don't often get to choose a franchise quarterback and talk them into sticking with Mariota and not making this gigantic trade. And here you go. Thank God it didn't happen for us Eagles fans." So I can see them looking down the same pathway. I'm definitely not making that trade for Dak Prescott
and giving up your 6th overall pick, which is very valuable for an all-right quarterback. But go ahead, Bruce.
So number one, I want to thank everybody who's logging into Rover Sports. We have 22 viewers, and one of them is a famous person. John Morant is clapping and looking.
Yeah.
So John Morant from Lancaster, who is the first cousin of John Morant, who's going to actually get John Morant on our show.
Jay Morant.
So so we've got 2 Jay Morants here.
Cousin of John,
we also have some really nice people logging in. Zach Taylor. And my feeling about this, and I'm very hoarse, obviously I don't have to announce that, pretty easy for you to hear. But in my opinion, Brady and Tua is something I've thought about. Putting Brady in for 2 years and having Tua be the understudy. You can see that in a place like Miami. I can see that even in a place like San Diego. San Diego has a $5 billion stadium. So they really need buzz. I don't think Dak Prescott is going to provide it. But imagine putting Brady and Tua in San Diego and betting the Ford on it.
Well, in L.A.
And it's nice weather.
In the new stadium. And by the way, for Tua and Clocks, I want to thank you so much for the call. We're definitely going to continue to talk about the proposal. I want to thank you. I know you joke around. I like what. By the way, Clocks, I like when you come at me for my opinions, man. It's always fun banter. So thank you for the call.
You got it, buddy.
All right, so you know what the thing is for Tua? You know Tua said he doesn't want to go to – his family said he didn't want to go to Detroit. I mean, San Diego and Hawaii, I mean, that's the closest flight to the mainland that Hawaii is. So that would be a dream come true for the Chargers, for Anthony Lynn. I think that would be perfect.
Good for Brady. And in my opinion, you're close to L.A., so Brady, he really cares about his brand. So you're well, actually – close to L.A. You are in L.A. Never mind.
Yeah, his wife Giselle, who's a supermodel, is probably designing clothes right now.
So you're in the L.A. Chargers. So that's a really nice place. You're not going to the Rams. Jared Goff's going to be there.
The thing.
So you're going to L.A. or New York.
And the Chargers.
And the weather's better in San Diego.
In L.A. Let me share what the Chargers can do. If the Lions keep the 3rd pick and say the Lions, Charlie, take a defensive player at 3. Nobody is going to expect the Chargers to leap over the Dolphins. And the Giants will take some compensation for 4 because the Giants are probably taking a lineman or a linebacker if the quarterbacks are going early.
Are they going to trade down?
If the
Giants will trade down?
The Chargers at 6 can easily leap to 4 to take Tua. And by the way, they've been very good about not discussing Tua. It's all been about Herbert. It's all been about Jordan Love. So I think that would be a very intriguing team. Now, you do have Anthony Lynn there. I don't even know who their OC is. Actually, their OC is like a very new guy. His name is Shane Steichen is their OC. He's a very new guy. He's 38.
That was on the tip of my tongue too.
Well,
just kidding.
He would have been the first guy.
But Kellen Moore in Dallas would be perfect with Tua. They're like essentially the same player, only Tua's 2 inches taller.
Tua has talent.
Well, Kellen Moore had all the smarts and all the talent at Boise. But go ahead, Charlie. What do you think about Tua to the Chargers?
Yeah, he's going 3rd to Detroit, like I've said for months, and no one.
You really think the Lions would pull that? I don't.
He's going 3rd in the draft, either to Detroit or they'll trade the pick for someone.
Or the Dolphins. The Dolphins.
Why wouldn't Detroit take him? Matthew Stafford. You have a million years of mediocrity.
Exactly.
He's Dak Prescott, basically. You're going to have the same thing with Dak Prescott.
By the way. There are certain people.
Prescott's not worth that much money.
By the way, Tua is a class guy. So if Tua says, I don't want to go to Detroit, when he goes there, he's got a good family. He'll play anywhere. He'll play in Afghanistan. So the fact of the matter is, he will, because he's such a he is. You're an Alabama guy.
But he is dropping.
He's got heart.
The saying I want to play in Dallas was really bizarre to me.
Tua is.
I didn't understand what that was.
No. He's a huge Cowboy fan. I mean,
yeah, but if you're entering the draft, you want to say I'll play for anybody. I just want to get out there and be drafted.
First of all, he did say today that he'll play for any team. So he's not saying Dallas or bust, but he named his dog Jerry.
Yeah, his health concerns me, and I love him. But
I'll name a lot about my dog, Jerry.
His health is, and from a guy who's watched him, and when he was a true freshman, I said the first Alabama game, the wrong quarterback starting, and I as on a stack of Bibles on my son, I will say that
you certainly picked it right, because that was the best as far as coming into a game and turning a game around. As a, I guess he was a sophomore. Was he a sophomore?
No, he was a true freshman when Jalen Hurts was a sophomore.
So he was a true freshman. Yeah. Coming in relief, I think that's the best bullpen job ever. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence from wire to wire was incredible in that game, but these last few years we've seen some great quarterback play.
Great freshman quarterback play, but that's certainly a good question. I think Herbert is good. I mean, Dak, I just think Dak's worth $20 million. I look at Dak and the way he finished the season, he had no offense against the Eagles, no offense against the Bears. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Teddy Bridgewater.
Alex Smith.
You look at Teddy Bridgewater, and he could basically beat Dak. And Dak has all the intangibles. I mean, he is a great speaker, a wonderful guy, and the Cowboys and Jerry, they love him. He's like a son to the Cowboys.
That wins you championship.
And guess what? Dak and Mike McCarthy, they are going to get a deal done, because Jerry is very loyal, even to a fault, and Dak will be the quarterback there. I'm very, very sure about that.
What do you guys make of Brady saying that he wants a 2-year deal? Essentially, if he doesn't get a 2-year deal, he's moving on.
I don't know. What do you think about Brady to the Raiders? That would be
That's intriguing.
That would be a wild.
I would enjoy that, because I know that there's different opinions about Gruden. I personally like him a lot, and to see Brady playing in Vegas with a new stadium that looks like Darth Vader, I think that'll be must-see TV. And I'm not sure Gruden and Brady, they're either going to get along great or terribly. That will be very interesting.
I think it'll be very odd.
Be odd, but interesting.
I don't think Brady working with anybody would be that out of the. It's just, put it this way. I mean, Tom Brady worked with Bill Belichick, who might not be.
Belichick's probably the hardest guy to work for.
Yeah, I mean, he might not be the most boisterous, but he's got to be the hardest one to work for.
Well, it would be a disaster for Tom Brady's career. Number one, look. I think the Patriots have a problem. They want to do whatever they can to sign. They want to give Brady whatever he wants. The problem is they're up against they have cap problems. They have all sorts of problems where. Of course they want to load him up with weapons, but it's just not that easy. When you're so far backed up against the cap, they drafted that kid out of Arizona State last year, was hurt most of the year, Keneal, who was hurt most of the year and came on a little bit at the end of the year, but you don't know what you're getting this year. They're not just one player short; they're 2 or 3 weapons short, and they're in a tough situation right now. I think it's the Patriots that are going. Can we make this guy happy, or do we just let him go at this point?
Well, you know what? And now that they gave away Jimmy G, that I don't. Maybe they saw Stidham. Could Stidham possibly be their answer?
No, I have the answer. P.J. Walker
from the Houston Roughnecks
exactly.
of the XFL.
Get him under Belichick's wing. He worked out with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck called his father and said, "Get him on a roster now. This kid is undiscovered gem." He worked. He was on in the Colts with Andrew Luck, and Luck is the one who called his dad and said, "You got to get this guy on a roster." And right now, he's the MVP of the XFL.
No, he is in the XFL, but and he was at Temple. He's Temple's quarterback, P.J. Walker.
Yep.
He's fast, but he's only 5'11".
Get him on a roster.
And I think he's undrafted. That would be one from the clouds. I would give you major props. I'm not. I think
he'll get into camp, as will Ricky Prohl's kid's amazing. I think he'll get on an NFL camp this year too.
Do you want me to tell you a quarterback that has a lot of talent but just can't get his head straight, and a guy
Johnny Manziel?
Winston.
Winston, I think he has matured, actually, Winston, but he's an interception machine. I don't think him and Belichick would.
But here's a question.
Complete opposites.
Here's a question.
I'm going to tell you my guy.
Let me talk about Winston.
Let me tell you my
guy.
Tell
your guy, and I want to hear more Jameis talk.
Do you know Chad Kelly?
Yeah.
Chad Kelly out of Ole Miss.
He's
a really
talented,
but he's a really talented kid. 6'3", guns, lights it up every preseason. He could be a Kirk Cousins, like Kirk Cousins lit up in the preseason. Chad Kelly can be that as well. Yeah. Go ahead, Bruce.
I want to thank Eric Gold, Dr. Tim Martin, so many great people logging on the live stream, the watch party. They get to hear a horse Dr. G. Yep. But Chad Kelly obviously has some issues, substance issues. The question I have for the panel is, Jameis Winston, an interception machine. If you are a franchise in the NFL, are you going to put your franchise? Are you going to put Jameis Winston in that seat? Is there anybody willing to do that outside of Tampa Bay? Al, your thoughts?
I would say there's people willing to do it, but
What franchise?
I'm just trying to think who really needs a quarterback right now.
Carolina.
Carolina could. I mean, depending on who
Chicago.
people draft. Chicago. I don't know.
No. Mitch is more mobile than Winston.
Yeah, but
The problem is Winston needs a good O-line to operate.
any quarterback needs a good line to
Indiana-
operate.
No,
Indianapolis?
but Winston cannot extend the play.
Yeah, a place like Indianapolis,
Yeah.
you got to find a place where they're totally barren and they're desperate. So Indianapolis certainly fits the bill, Charlie.
Do
I
you
think
think
that's a good one.
that Winston is better than Brissett? He's not even that big of an upgrade, though.
I
He's
think
not a
he's-
huge
I think he is.
I think he
I
has.
personally think he is.
This makes sense. He's got a higher ceiling, but a way lower floor.
I think that Winston is good, but I also look at Arians and Mike Evans and Godwin, and just the weapons that Tampa had. Winston did throw for 30 touchdowns and the most yards in the league.
30
I'll
picks.
tell you a team that I would I think in Detroit, if you could get Stafford's contract out of there. Also, I think he's more valuable than Matt Ryan. So I think he's better than Matt Ryan, actually. Matt Ryan's too old. So I think he would work in Atlanta. If you're a new team, though, like Carolina, they got to get Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow.
Is
I
there a
mean,
more
this is a good rookie quarterback class.
No. Is there a more overrated quarterback than Matt Ryan? I mean, is there a guy that ever got so much money who's
Cam Newton.
produced so less?
Well, if
No, I would say,
Yeah, but
if
he has
Ryan,
the money
I would say
Ryan
one
has.
guy who
if
made more
Ryan
money.
won that Super Bowl, you would think differently.
Guess
But
what?
he lost a 28-3 lead, which just goes to his legend.
No, I would say
Now it's just Jake.
I
Delhomme.
agree.
I got a
agree
name
with
for
that.
you. I got a name for a guy who's made more money and he's been much worse.
Let me ask you a question. real
Sam
quick. I was
Bradford.
gonna say.
Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford.
No one
Has he-
thinks
has
no
he
one
made as
thinks
much as
he's
Ryan?
good.
But he
man.
made no. I'm talking
Ryan's
how much
got a
money.
bunch of
But you
dough.
know how much money Bradford made?
Over
a ton of
about
money,
100 million,
and he
right?
never did anything. He was hurt the whole time. He is much worse.
Let me.
I'm gonna look this up.
No, I could.
I think
of
Ryan
one.
made more money, though. Because he had that mega deal. Ryan had a mega deal.
I could think of one.
Sam Bradford was the last rookie quarterback not to get to the wage scale. So he got a big deal. He got a huge rookie contract. And then he got, he's had two significant contracts since, too.
How about this one?
All right, Matt Ryan's estimate worth is $70 million. So I'm gonna find out.
Total worth?
Yeah.
It's less than I would think it would be more than
Yeah, I
that.
would think it'd be a little bit more. But he's got years left, too, on that
No
contract.
way, it's 70. He was drafted number 4.
His
so
net
he
worth
got
estimates
big.
at $70 million, even if that number is remotely close.
How about Sam Bradford? Just curious.
That was August of last year. Hold on.
I'm gonna guess.
Not that we want to
I'm gonna
necessarily.
guess. I'm gonna guess 51 million.
for Sam.
Yeah.
What do you think
No.
about?
What?
Not even close.
Wow.
Sam Bradford has earned $129 million over his
God, is that what he's
underwhelming
worth?
career.
That's a lot of money. I think I was
He's
right.
missing a gun and a mask.
Well, is
Oh no, I say it's not him. It's his.
Yeah.
It's his agent.
well when you win the Heisman, do you get any money?
No,
Okay.
No.
you get
Well,
contracts.
you
in the
get
NFL.
money from somebody. You just
Yeah.
don't know who.
So we have a question from Lisa from Reading, and what she's asking the panel is to talk about the Sixers. Number one, if we presume that Ben Simmons is going to be out for 2 to 4 weeks, there's 20-plus games left in the season. We've seen the games. I know you've been to many of them. We've probably all seen all the games.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee game was a dud, and then Embiid came back with 49 points, a tremendous game.
Yeah.
And then he flipped a bird to somebody who stole the ball from him. It
Yeah.
reminds me a little bit of that Kansas game. Remember Kansas
Kid from
State?
Maryland.
It was the same thing where a guy was trying to run out the clock. Now, Embiid didn't punch the guy, but it's funny how there's two games very similar where they steal the ball at the end, and Joel did apologize for that little move.
I think he wanted 50 points, so he was pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did. But what do we see? What do we see with the Sixers, Al? What do you see?
I see a roller coaster ride that continues to be a roller coaster ride. It's everybody gets excited. We were mad at Embiid for the way he acted when everything was going bad. Then he has a good game and everybody's happy with him again.
Right.
months ago it was we should probably trade somebody, and it was probably Ben, and now it was Embiid. It continues to be a roller coaster ride. They have not proved themselves on the road, even against subpar teams. So, and it's going to continue to be that way. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but unless something changes, and now with Ben Simmons being out for God knows how long, I don't see it getting any different than them doing what they did last year.
So Al, this is what's going to happen. All right. So the Sixers.
I like this. He's not making a prediction. He's telling me what's going to happen.
Exactly.
He's looking right into the crystal ball.
Well, they tell you at sports broadcasting school to. All right. So they got the Cavs and the Knicks. Those are going to be 2 wins. Well, at Cleveland, without Ben Simmons, that's a
So that's what you're thinking about right now.
Then they go to a really tough road trip. They have the Clippers, who are motivated. They're going to smash the Sixers without Ben. And then they play the Lakers and the Clippers. In 5 days of alcohol in L.A. for all the Sixers, they'll be wiped out drunk every day. So the Sixers will get slaughtered in L.A., both on the court, off the court. It'll be absolutely awful. Then they go to play Sacramento. Sacramento will beat the brakes off of the Sixers.
And here's
then Steph Curry comes back. 0-4 trip for the Sixers. Let me tell you this, Al. I don't care if the Sixers are the 8th seed in the playoffs and they lose every game until now to the playoffs. They need Ben Simmons in the playoffs. I'll take an 8 seed. If Ben Simmons is out the whole year, you might as well light your playoff tickets on fire because they aren't going to win a game.
I'll agree with you because here's the thing is.
Ben Simmons is the key to this dang team.
If Embiid goes down, you have Al Horford who can step in, who is not Embiid, but he's a step down, but not.
Right.
Who's the step down from Ben Simmons in this case?
A guy you can't even pronounce his name. Owl. His name is Owl NATO. That's the guy that you're going to be relying on. It's Owl. It's more like Owl. Like you're getting burned. That's what's happening.
You're going to get burned.
Like you're burning your arm. And he's getting burned on defense. Have you seen his defense? You could play better defense.
Has anyone thought that they've minimized the Ben Simmons injury because it's time to say whether you want your playoff package or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Ding, ding.
If you said, exactly.
He's out for the season.
You said,
I think that Ben's out,
you're
just
right.
like Charlie said.
If they say the words herniated disc, then everybody keep their wallet in their pockets. But when they use the word nerve impingement, it's almost the same thing.
And why are you reevaluating in 2 weeks? It's just to maybe soak up more cash. So you think let's do a panel. Who here thinks Ben Simmons is out for the postseason?
He's out for the rest of the season?
Yeah, out for the entire season.
I don't. Okay, I don't believe so.
We have to guess.
It's too early to say. So
too early to say.
I think he's out.
I think no. You know why?
I think me and Charlie.
He didn't look like he got hurt. He didn't look like he was impaired. In fact, when he ran off the court, he was running full speed. So I think he's going to get physical therapy, which is going to be excellent. He's going to probably get at least an epidural injection, some anti-inflammatories, and they're going to work him back. I'd say in 4 weeks they'll work him back.
Let me ask
that's
you,
what I'm thinking.
I
don't think he's out for the year. That's my prediction. But I haven't examined him.
I want to ask you more of a specific question about his back. So you know how Fultz had the shoulder. Ben Simmons has this back injury that's hard for the doctors to see because they obviously said you're healthy enough to go play in Milwaukee. So could this back have been lingering for maybe even a couple of years? Does it affect his shooting this season specifically, Bruce? Is it affecting him not taking a 3-point shot?
No.
This ligament in his back.
Nope. What's affecting his back, what's affecting his shooting is 2 things. One is I think he has a fear of failure. He has a fear. There's nobody in their right mind who's probably everywhere he goes. Imagine going down the street and you see 10 people. Everybody says, I need you to shoot. There's nobody who's 6'10", who plays basketball for a living, who is more resistant to shooting than Ben Simmons. That's what's maddening about it. But I think one is a fear of failure. And another one is a stubbornness. He's a very proud guy. He thinks his game is perfect the way it is. He's got other people on the team that can shoot better than him. So with Ben, it's the same thing we've been talking about. It's a mixture. And also we have a coach who is not Bill Belichick, okay? Who's not going to bench him, who is a player's coach, who's a rah-rah guy, Carnival Barker himself, very nice person, Brett Brown is. But there's nobody forcing him to shoot, And I'm not even sure if he would do that anyway. I don't know what you could do to make Ben shoot, but he's not in there anyway. But the only advantage is you now know what you got. You've got Glenn Robinson III, and you've got Shake Milton, you've got Furkan Korkmaz, you've got all these guys.
You've got problems.
And you've got problems, and you've got scoring problems. If you watch the game, basically Embiid has to score 30 to 50 points for them to win, and they just Horford is still Horford. They really have a lack of scoring and also a lack of defense because Ben Simmons plays really good defense. He played great against Kawhi. That was a wonderful game, that Clippers game. Many of you people out there who are logged in, we've got a lot of people on Rover Sports here. Without Ben, that's really a big hole on defense too. And like you say, Raul Nato is not Ben Simmons.
Unfortunately, knowing how big business works, I always know there's an angle, and I just think the Sixers are playing this to a T. Any insider, you hear that he was in tears after the MRI when he got news, and then you hear other guys saying, "Look, man, 4 weeks is a pipe dream. He's not coming back in 4 weeks." I just think it's probably worse. Whether it's true or not, the timing couldn't be worse because we all got that email the other day. Press yes or press no for your playoff tickets, and that's big business. I mean, if the Sixers go to the finals, it's almost like paying for another year of season tickets at the end of the day. Enough people opt out, they lose a ton of money. The playoffs, although the first round's pretty reasonable, they get pretty expensive as the rounds go on. So
yeah, I don't really see personally. I don't see anybody opting out of playoff tickets. Firstly, in any sport, even the Flyers, who haven't been relevant in a long time. And we see them in the background here. Also, I think people are afraid of losing their season tickets.
You don't lose them, though.
90, I know, but it's not a rational fear. Yeah. People feel if they don't, there's 97% of people who are upping their season tickets for next year, and there's a very large waiting list. So I don't know anybody out there.
Out,
Stuart Cohen,
I will not
Dr. Cohen. Is there anybody? And there's like 20 people at all times logging in, logging out. Is there anybody who are season ticket holders who are not going to sign up for the playoffs if Ben Simmons isn't playing?
If I knew Simmons was out, I would not pay my playoff.
Okay,
ticket. No,
and I respect your opinion.
I'm not paying $500-600 a game to watch them lose. I'm just not doing it. And you know what? The other thing is, if you don't want to go to a game, the Sixers tickets don't sell anymore on the secondary market. A guy next to me, and I sit in the 14th row right behind the Sixers bench. A guy was telling me how he's made a living off this for years. And he says, I can't even sell them for face value anymore. And I don't think, without a Ben Simmons,
maybe it's the apathy of regular season
basketball. The tickets last night were going for less than 50% face value. It's just I'm not gonna. And again, if they get bounced early, does it really matter? No, then you're not really spending any money anyway. It's kind of a moot point. But they have no chance to win without Ben Simmons. It's just.
Well, Charlie,
but we still look at the Hawks.
Do you think that the product has? Sorry.
No, I'm saying
the product has gone down in regular season.
This is what I'm going to say, though, to that, Charlie. And I'm very hoarse, but it's a Monday night in wintertime. The Atlanta Hawks with a losing record, people like Trae Young, but it's not a big draw. So that didn't surprise me that on Monday night that that's just a dud of a game. Even though it was a good game, I don't think it's a big market.
But you
draw.
don't see that with the Lakers and the Clippers and the Bucks. Like the Sixers. Like I've been excited, like everyone. The last couple of years, you couldn't wait to get down there. It was an event. It was a college atmosphere.
Yeah.
Basically, this year there's something off. Even down there, there's something different this year. It has a level of. I mean, their fans are quick to snap, quick to boo. You didn't see that in past years.
You know what it is, Charlie? It's fatigue of being a little bit of success, a little bit of expectation. Because when Brett was turning it around, and last year, you know what it was? When Jimmy Butler got there, and when they made that trade, I was there the first day. I think they played the Utah Jazz.
Yeah,
they signed last year. They did a huge trade for Tobias Harris in the middle of the year. So you're like, who's this Tobias Harris? Because all Harris did was play on teams that were crap. You would never watch a Pistons game in the regular season. So you're like, who's Harris? Oh, he's actually pretty good. Then they signed Jimmy Butler. I have to say, one of the most marketable players ever, because Jimmy, does have that kind of mentality that Kobe had in practice. Like, he'll go after Andrew Wiggins. He'll kick Andrew Wiggins' ass. Every night, Jimmy Butler cared about winning and losing, and he took it personal, and that was so much fun to watch was Jimmy and not having Jimmy. And then you look at Al Horford. Elton Brand, that was all a PR stunt to get Al Horford in, because after Jimmy left, this fan base was so upset on that summer day. And then they got Al Horford. Horford doesn't know how to play any. He doesn't know where to fit, Bruce. He doesn't know where to fit. And Charlie, the Houston Rockets, they don't even play a center. Do you think Al Horford is just extinct in this league? What is Al Horford's problem?
The funny thing is, though, real quick, you said the perfect words describing Tobias Harris. He's pretty good. But we paid him like he was really
good.
You know what I mean?
We paid him at max contract.
That's worse than the Al Horford signing. That was worse.
I don't know about that, man. Harris still puts up 25 a game.
But he's the soft 25. In other words, he'll put up like 16 in the first half when everybody's dying it. Yeah. But in lockdown, when's the last time
he can be invisible?
When's the last time Tobias Harris said, "I've got this, boys. Move away, clear out. I've got this game." And that's what a max player should be doing. And he's not doing that.
And Josh Richardson's more confident.
In 2 years, Tobias Harris is going to make over $40 million.
The Sixers should have said, "Go ahead, try the open market."
It was Albert Pujols on steroids.
His dad bullied him into signing.
No. See, what happened is the one who got him was Jimmy Butler. That was the one who got him to do all that. Once Jimmy Butler, they pretty much opened their checkbook to Jimmy Butler and said, "Here you go. What do you want?" And Jimmy Butler probably said, "I don't want Brett Brown, and you got to trade like Embiid or Ben Simmons."
No, I think he likes Embiid. I don't know. I'd love to hear that side of the story.
I don't know. I don't know because.
But I think it's a knee-jerk reaction. You're absolutely right. If we look at the timing, when they knew that Butler and J.J. Redick were leaving, they had to do something. So they did the Horford deal and they did the Tobias deal just to do something to appease the fans, and it was just. It was Elton Brand just doing a deal. Just to do a deal, not thinking how it would fit together. It was, in retrospect, not
Al
smart.
Horford, how much is he getting paid each year?
He's about 25.
Don't you kind of stay away from Danny Ainge anymore? Don't you kind of stay away when he says, "I got a deal for you"? Because the guy's fleeced everybody he's ever done.
Let me ask you this question.
Guess what?
How many times when Al Horford's on the court, and how many times when Tobias Harris on the court, did you ever say, "Oh wait, Tobias Harris is playing"? I've said that more times than I really feel comfortable saying for a guy that's getting paid what he gets paid. I have said that, "Oh wait, I didn't know Tobias was on the court tonight." That's how bad it is.
Here's my argument, though. If you took Horford off of this team, there wouldn't be that much of a difference. I still think Toby contributes to winning in this team. I mean,
if you traded Tobias right now for a player to get unloaded stuff or something,
for who?
Would you take Devontae Graham for him? I wouldn't. A heartbeat.
You would
from Charlotte? Oh God, I would drive him to the airport. Young guy making $1.5 million a year. He shoots 40% from three, averaging 18 points a game.
He's on a bad.
The problem is nobody knows him. The guy can play.
Is it just me? He never was on a team long term.
Devontae Graham's a better basketball player than Tobias Harris.
I think Tobias Harris 100%. Is solid. He's like Jaylen Brown on the Celtics.
Dr. Bruce said it best. If he isn't paid like a top tier player, he should be playing. He is not a guy who's going to take the ball. Like Jimmy Butler did at the end of that game, the Raptors game last postseason. He goes, "Give me it." He took
18.6. Look it up.
And he went down, and he tied that game up. He made that happen.
Let's look at the stats. Let's look at the stats. Let's look. I bet the stats are good.
Graham's stats.
I bet he's averaging like 20 points a game this season. Yeah, he's averaging 19, 6.8 boards, and 3 assists. That's not bad. 20 points and 3. And he's shooting from the field. I mean, that's pretty good, Bruce. 20 points a game for Toby. Also, Toby has to play with Embiid. He has to sometimes Furkan Korkmaz is there. Josh Richardson. I think Toby is good. You guys are short.
I'm going to give you a guy making $1.5 million.
I think Toby is very good.
Yes,
but he's not a max player. He's not a team leader. And he doesn't command a max contract, in my opinion.
A max player, you got Devin Booker, who's a max player. You got Dame Lillard. But how about Paul George? Is there that much of a difference between Paul George and Toby?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
A lot of a difference.
Okay, but let me mention whatever max guys are there.
See my face
how about DeMar DeRozan?
What am I talking about?
And Toby Harris. You got Toby Harris. I'd say in the NBA, he's a top 25 player in the NBA. Toby Harris.
Not even
No.
top 50.
No.
Devontae Graham.
Okay,
now
you're
let's
putting
look
him outside of top 50.
Let's
I'd
look,
love to hear
let's
top
look
50.
at Devontae's. Let's look at Devontae Graham making $1.5 million for the next 2 years.
Okay.
38% from three, 18 points a game, 8 assists a game, and 4 rebounds a game. And he's locked up for a cool $3 million the next 2 years combined. Tobias Harris is set to make $40 million the next 2 years. The Sixers roster next year, their top 4 players make 120 of the $147 million that will be allowed for the
Cool
Cops.
Sam Bradford.
They are in trouble next year, man. Trouble. Big trouble.
And that's why they went all in. They thought this was going to be I swear, Elton Brand said, this is it. We're going to win. That's why Brett Brown got a second chance.
Yep.
That's why they
You're
put all that in
right,
him.
because you couldn't fire your coach. If you think you're there and you're one couple pieces away, that's not when you rebuild with a new coach. And that's exactly why they kept Brett Brown.
Let's go around the room. Does anyone think Brett Brown is back if they do not make the Eastern Conference Final this year?
Al, start.
Shouldn't be. I don't think so. But then it's so hard because
They get bounced in the second round in 7 games.
he shouldn't be. I'm saying he shouldn't be. But this whole connection with him and Elton Brand and the whole it's very hard for me to say no because the Sixers organization does not do anything like anybody else does, and that's why they suck.
Big caveat, big asterisk to your question. Ben might be hurt, and if Ben's hurt, that's an excuse. Then the coach comes back. Why would you fire a guy when the best player is hurt? How could you fire Brett if Ben's hurt?
Hey, wait, hold on. This is I'm sorry. I've had this conversation with many people. Charlie's seen me have it. People keep giving Brett excuses. He didn't have the full team last year. So this year he has the full team. Before that, he only had Embiid, and then Simmons couldn't play, and then it was Embiid and Simmons, but they didn't have anybody around them. They put people around them, but they got to put it in halfway through the season. They didn't get a chance to gel. Now this whole chance to gel, and here we go. When do the excuses stop?
That's not just an excuse, Al. If Ben Simmons is hurt, you can't do anything.
How good are they now?
I just want to say,
they're like
at
the
this
5th
moment in
seed
time,
right now.
if they were like the Bucks right now, if they were like
Yeah.
they're barely, not even double-digit losses yet, and then something happened to Ben and they fell apart, fine, yeah, okay, Brett Brown. But we wouldn't be having this conversation.
But guess what? Brett
They're
Brown.
the 5th seed with Brett Brown. Sometimes the 6th if they didn't win a couple games last week.
Yeah.
But the regular season.
But listen,
I think if
even-
Ben was healthy.
okay, let me chime in.
I still have faith in
No,
this team
no.
if Ben is.
But listen,
playing.
The fact is, this team has one of the worst road records in the league, the worst of any playoff team. That tells you that the leadership on the team is not there, the coaching isn't there, that these guys will not play defense on the road. And that was true when they had Ben Simmons. So in my opinion, if they don't make the finals and they're disappointing and they go sideways, Brett Brown's gone. And I believe he's a likely scapegoat. And if he's not, there's going to be a lot of angry fans. That's my opinion.
And you have the personalities of Ben Embiid. You have Al Horford has been moved to the bench now. You got Tobias Harris once again, who is soft at best, and you need somebody to motivate him, and it is not going to be Brett Brown. So yeah, I think he is the most reasonable scapegoat at this point in time, and it has to happen.
Is he really a scapegoat?
Well, he's not a scapegoat.
He
You know what I
deserves
mean?
to go.
He deserves to go.
He's
and
2 years over the limit, I think. He should have went 2 years ago.
I agree. You're not going to get any disagreement from me on that.
Who are you bringing in here? What names
You
do
have,
you
you have
want?
to. You have to.
Spence, I'll bring you in at this point.
Yeah,
in
you have to
time.
pause and see who's available. Obviously, at the
Yeah.
time. But if you had to make a move right now, there's and to choose from the pool out there now, saying that's the pool available in the offseason. I mean, Mark Jackson, either of the Van Gundys. Again, you and I went back and forth about
I don't want Mark Jackson.
no the
I would take-
David Fizdale. You don't like him at all. I have a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
Fizdale guy.
I just think he's been
Jay Wright, say what. Again, I don't think Jay Wright's ever leaving Villanova.
I think
but
Bill-
I don't.
How about
the
feel-
Knicks are trying their
for what
hardest
he's
to get
gonna-
him.
For what he would have to walk into the Sixers next year, he's had something too good at Nova
I think
right now.
Bill Self could be the next
Do,
coach.
do,
of the
do they
Sixers.
blow this team up if Simmons does play and they bounce in the second round again? Do they blow it up? Trade one?
I think
Question
that
is,
there has to
how
be
do
a-
they blow it up then?
Oh,
Or
a
any of
million
these
percent
guys-
somebody's going then.
Do you think it's either? But if Simmons is hurt, you can't trade him. Just like you can't trade it.
If Simmons doesn't play in the playoffs, it's a then I don't know what will
But you
happen.
can't trade a hurt player.
But we're talking about if the team. We're not saying Simmons is out. We're talking about if the team's healthy.
Okay, if he comes back, the team's healthy.
Yeah, team's healthy.
So the
Brett
question
gets
always
fired.
comes in. It's a question we have all the time on Rover Sports, and Dr. Lewis isn't here. But the question is, if you get rid of, who do you get rid of, Embiid or Simmons? Let's just go around the table, and I'm going to go last. Al, who do you get rid of if you have to get rid of one guy?
Embiid.
And why?
It's I thought we were doing rapid.
No.
It's very simple. He's injury prone. He's older. There's just a lot of things that, I mean, not that he's old, but he's older. But he's just, Ben is more of a lot more of a ceiling than Embiid does. And I think you could build a team and I don't want to I keep telling people when I say this, I could say a lot of the same things about Embiid, but if you're telling me to take one or the other, I build my team around Ben Simmons.
Spence?
1,000,000%. I've been saying this for a while. You keep Ben Simmons and Embiid will go because Embiid is out of shape. He's already had injury problems, even though he's putting up these stats right now. In fact, if Ben does get hurt, the only positive of Ben getting hurt, and they're all negative, but there's one positive, it's that Embiid is going to stat pad and look even better. So I think that he still will be. This is the most attractive Embiid's going to play. I think this is his peak of his career. He's a big guy. He's also very abstract. He's never going to be a low post guy, Bruce. He's too defiant. He plays too loose. He's kind of like he's a shooter. He's a mid-range shooter. That's kind of what makes him great. What makes him great is actually him not playing with structure. It's him doing behind the back Euro steps. He plays like a guard, right? And that's what makes Embiid fun to watch. Embiid has been fun to watch. He's great for the fan base. He's really rallied the Sixers to a couple of playoff runs, but unfortunately, with the contracts and the cap, I think it might be time to get rid. I would have to say keep Ben Simmons.
So here's a question: while we're on that path, who would want Embiid? Who would take him? And what would be a good catch from? Obviously, when Charles Barkley left, when any superstars leave, you usually get fleeced with a bunch of draft picks and things. What would you require? You'd have to get a superstar in return, right? You'd have to get like a Dame Lillard type. No? Well, what would you take then? When I hear Charlie's opinion?
Dame Lillard's very interesting. That would be a very interesting one. But I would take young players and picks like shooters. So like Tyler Hero's a really good shooter. He looks at Charlotte, says Devontae Graham's good. They have Miles Bridges. They have a lot of cheap younger players. That's what you need in this situation. But go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah,
what do you think, Charlie?
I think that you're never going to get equal value, and I think the guy Lillard's already getting up there in age. So if you're gonna move him, you're gonna rebuild. You're not gonna retool. You're gonna have to gut the entire team. I'm going to look at somebody who is number one or number two in the draft for sure, because I don't know how you get rid of Embiid and not totally gut the team and start over again, and that's going to piss a lot of local guy who now they could, because now they've upped the tickets the last 3 years. Now they're, if you get rid of one of these guys, you're changing the entire direction of the team, the way all these ticket sales are going, the way they're marketing the team. I'm telling you, I think the Sixers have a big problem, and I don't think they realize it yet. Until next year come. I think they're hoping that somehow they catch lightning in a bottle and all this goes away, because there is no backup plan at this point.
Yeah, excuse me. I tend to agree with you. I think if you get rid of Embiid, however you do it, you're admitting the process was a complete failure. In fact, that's his nickname. The process is a complete failure. And as a season ticket holder, they're raising the prices substantially just to bring back a team without Embiid. I don't see them. So it was kind of a rhetorical question. I don't see them trading Ben Simmons, and I also don't see them trading Embiid. I think they're stuck with them one way or the other, and that would be my answer. We have some baseball fans actually logging on, and the question really is, Joe Girardi is in. Moonbeam is out. And the question is there any reason to think that this Phillies team, with almost the same pitching staff, a little tweaks, could you expect them to be any better than last year? Do you think that merely changing the manager will make them a playoff team? And that is a baseball question, a Phillies discussion a Phillies fan. Al Zafiri, our great producer. What do you think?
Yes, I think that can. I think he can. Normally, I always say a manager can win or lose you 5 games. I feel Gabe Kapler probably lost 10 games, if not more, with some of the moves he made last year. And that's why I ultimately was okay with. I kind of felt he got a little of a bum rap at times, just because he was kind of forcefully having to do things, with all the analytics and stuff like that. I feel like some of those things were coming from above at times. But ultimately, I think there was also some dumb decisions. So I think I like Girardi. I think just because he's a proven commodity makes him makes people like just all the young guys around him, like even Bryce Harper, a guy who never won anything, who just Here's the thing: is this is an intangible people don't think about it. Here's Bryce Harper, his team that he just left after all these years, just won the World Series. I don't care who you are and how cool and calm and collected you are. That sticks and it burns. I'm telling you. I think having Joe Girardi does put us more into a conversation, puts the Phillies more into a conversation into the playoffs than keeping Kapler or moving in the other direction.
Yeah. I look at Nola and he's a good pitcher, but how long is he going to hold up and be this dominant? Because he's never been the fastest guy. He only throws 91, and I'm amazed at his control. I'm amazed that he's as good as he is for being that slow. I'm amazed with how guys are throwing 99 literally every inning. But I look at Zach Wheeler. He's had so many injury concerns. Everybody's on a honeymoon stage with this Wheeler guy. I expect Wheeler to go like 12-8 this year. And I just look at the Phillies, and I just don't. It's a weird combination in the outfield. They have a good infield, so I think the Nats will be good, and Atlanta is just next level. They're like the Celtics, yeah, because they have that young kid. Who is it, Riley, or who? They have they have the outfielder that is an unbelievable player. Who's the lefty outfielder?
Acuna Jr. Is that his name?
Ronald
Acuna.
But they also have. Is it Riley? They have a kid from college who came up. What's the name? Riley, I think. And then they have the kid from Vanderbilt who's really good. They are a young team, and they are projected great. And plus, didn't they get they got the lefty? They got Dallas. What's his name? They got the lefty
Dallas
too.
Keuchel.
Dallas Keuchel. Their pitching staff.
He's not with
they
them.
they got a well, no, they sent a bunch of pitchers, but
They
also
have a aggressive
they actually
Keuchel's
they have a bunch of young guys that are younger than Alex Baum, who's going to start in the minor leagues, who have been playing in the major leagues for 2 or 3 years already. Which again. The Philly, look, I'm a big baseball fan, man. I watch games every day. I literally have the baseball package. I watch multiple games every day of the season. I see.
He's in Chicago.
There is absolutely no chance. The Phillies are going to finish near the cellar, if not in the cellar, unless Joe Girardi can throw a 94-mile-an-hour ball that moves all over the place. You're going to have Vasquez, Eflin, all those clowns trot out there again, and you're going to have a circus.
Nicky Pivetta.
And you're going to have a circus.
Wait,
Look. I really want the Phillies to be great. I was so excited when they got Harper, but they went 3/4 of the way and stopped.
Can I ask you? Like you watch so much baseball. What do you love about the long season of baseball? Like, what keeps you going through?
I kind of, number one, because it beats no sports being on TV, which would be just a tragedy.
Yes, that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the houndstooth if there's no sports
at
all?
Sometimes you get through the workday. A good Tigers A's 105 matinee is what you need. Especially, you know why? If you can put money on it, it's worth it.
Right. That's why I think the NBA should go to August. Should go Christmas to August.
It's a long season. Could you do with 60 less games on the side? Absolutely.
They hate. You wanted to go. You want to shift it from Christmas to August. The NBA.
The NBA. I'm saying to take up for the dead period because July is dead.
Nobody wants.
Can't you get that point? You got football
but nobody
back.
wants to. Because that means nobody wants to fight with football. That's why. I mean, have you ever noticed?
No. Well, July ain't football, and preseason is dead.
May and June are really.
But by the way, you're not going to.
Preseason's almost dead.
You're not going to. Especially in the Northeast and places like that, you're not going to be playoff basketball into June or July. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think it's going to happen.
By July, you're making football predictions. It's May and June that are a little bit like
Everything's kind of is the way it is.
If you're into college baseball goes almost to June now too.
But nobody's into college baseball.
Oh, I love watching the college.
Have you
World
been to
Series.
Omaha before?
No, I have not.
That's a bucket list gift. What do you think quickly, since we're talking about the schedules? What do you think about 17-game regular season and adding playoffs?
I'm glad it's not my body.
I'm not gonna phrase this. I think it's a terrible idea, Al. I'm completely against
From
it.
a player standpoint, I think it's terrible. From a fan standpoint, I'd probably be not a bad thing.
No, it's bad because you're going to see your favorite players injured. Plus, you're going to have 8-8 teams going to the playoffs every year. I don't want that. I want it to be hard to make the NFL playoffs. Why mess with it? Why are they messing with this, Bruce? Don't you agree?
There's only one word:
Money.
The NFL playoffs is great. I don't get why they're messing with this.
Well, I don't think they should, because you devalue a playoff spot, just like in hockey and in basketball to some extent. So many teams make the playoffs, and that's the beauty of football. To actually make it's a big deal, and to have 2 wild cards. I'm a traditionalist, so I really hate messing with a good thing.
But since you're a casual baseball fan, you're not as big of a baseball fan. Have you heard their baseball proposal for the playoffs?
No.
I'm actually more into that. It's where they have, two. I think is it one more team makes the playoffs, and so Bruce, you have a 3-game series, right? With I think you have like the 8 seed playing the 5 seed, 6 play the 7, and the first seed, they then have a draft in the second round of teams that you want to play. So the number 1 seed's then going to say, I want to play this team. So you're building up a rivalry because you're holding a press conference and saying, I want to play this team.
So you're saying, are they going to? It's not going to be NLAL? Are they just going to be a tournament?
It is NLAL.
But they're still going to respect that part of it,
right?
But
it's 2022 when this would be when this would come into account.
I mean, I think that would be fun in a certain way.
I want to juice up
the
baseball.
One thing I don't really like is a 1-game wild card play-in. It's 168 games. To have only a 1-game play-in, I think is bad. I'm not. It's exciting, but it's bad, especially for a team that loses.
Tell the Nationals that.
Well, what 162.
Do you like that 1-game play-in?
I kind of do. I agree. Where I'm kind of a traditionalist. Where more teams isn't necessarily going to. I mean, when we were growing up, it was the East and the West. One team from the East. One team was Dodgers, Phillies, Dodgers, Reds. Remember in the 70s, it was it was through the 70s. It was either Dodgers, Phillies, or Dodgers, Reds. And that was the 75 through 70, 80 almost.
Yep.
And then they went. We come from a world where there were only 2 teams in each. 2 from the.
There was
no
wild card.
2 from the
we didn't
American.
know anything about a wild card.
You mean that there was no divisional round series?
There was only one.
It was a championship.
Yeah, it was East versus West. There were 2 divisions. That's it. East versus West.
There's 4 teams, and that's it. They played it off.
Yep.
And that was some good times.
Yeah, no, I
By the
didn't
way,
miss it.
those teams were damn good, weren't they?
And Charlie, were there less teams in baseball? There probably were, right?
Yeah, there were. Well, so I don't think Seattle was around yet. Toronto was not around yet. But that wasn't like it was.
So you know what? If you chop down all these franchises, then the teams are stacked.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was that, but it was only a couple more teams. So it wasn't like there was 20, maybe 28, and others 30, 32. But yeah, I think that again, but I think that the H is going to be gone from the. It's going to be both leagues.
Yeah, they're going to
in another year too.
That is something I say not this year, but the following year. The next 2 years.
Charlie, who are the Angels going to be good with Rendon?
Well, they got Rendon. They still need pitching. There's still a pitcher or 2 from competing. That division is pretty stacked.
Yeah.
The Astros. Are the Astros any good? I guess we're going to find out. I think they're probably a little bit of both.
Yeah. Listen, they have good players, but
is Bergman any
coming,
good?
Yeah. Do you think that? Do you buy the idea that the guy had a bad tattoo and he wasn't wired, and that's why he didn't take a shirt?
I don't buy that at all.
I think he was wired. Absolutely.
I don't. Yeah. There's no way.
No way he was not
There's
wired.
nothing you
chance.
can do. He can go out and he can get the ugliest damn tattoo across his chest. He can have a tattoo that says the most racist statement across his chest. I still don't believe that's what happened.
No way.
I agree with you.
No way.
So what's going to happen this year? Will the Astros be just mercilessly booed everywhere? Will it be? There's death threats. Actually, there are guys who did not play on the team last year who are wearing that jersey who have received death threats. So The question is, what should happen to Rob Manfred, who gave these players total immunity? He didn't do them a favor. I actually think that the A.J. Hinch or whatever his name is, he and the general manager actually got away easy because they're out of it. But these players are going to show up every day. They're going to have batteries thrown at them. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think that this commissioner made some of the worst decisions ever.
Absolutely.
And that's my opinion.
What's the
as we're wrapping it up, let's talk about that a little bit.
What's the line on how many times these guys get hit?
83.
83. I think they said it was like 50 something, like a low 50s.
58.
What they got hit, what they actually got hit last year before this was out. So you're looking at about a 30 hit uptick. So listen, people are angry, and I want to tell you one thing: it's baseball players are the least toughest head-on kind of guys, in the sense that you're a tough guy when you're throwing a ball 90 miles per hour at somebody's head. So this is what I would say. This is what you do. If I'm the Dodgers, if I'm the Yankees, first game against Astros, this is what I do. If I'm that pitcher, I have that first ball, I'm ready to throw, and I know, and I'm sure they're going to come into the locker rooms and they're going to look around and say, "You're warned now. You're warned now. Anything that seems on purpose, you're out. And you'll be fine and whatever else have you." I wouldn't even do any. I wouldn't throw a ball at him. I drop my glove and I run and I charge the plate, and I would just fight, get it out, clear the benches, get it all out, and then start the game up.
I think they need to fix it. I think they need to come to a solution once and for all, so this doesn't fester all year. It doesn't seem like teams are getting booed mercifully in spring training. I mean,
Well, did you hear about the other sign stealing issue with the Astros?
Yeah.
There was people were at the Astros spring training game, and somebody had the Houston Asterisks, because of the win. So
they took away the signs.
The girl in the seat was literally taking their signs away from them. Like, seriously, nobody thought this was not a good PR stunt at this point.
I'm more concerned with the product we're going to put out downtown than Houston. To be honest with you, I am in disbelief to think that anyone thinks that with that pitching staff that they can be anything better than third place. I just don't get it.
In any event,
I think it's more if it's a hope of people getting better because of having better staff to work with them, but that's about it.
I want to thank everybody who tolerated my hoarse voice. Thank you, Rolling Green, for all the freshly cut grass in the golf, which I enjoyed. So in any event, as we say, good night and good sports.